Good morning, y'all. I hope you have your coffee. It's not quite Leo season, but I'm a big time Leo, so I love the Cancer people in my life, but we all know Leo season's coming, and we just got through some intense eclipses and all the planets are retrograde, so I'm gonna go ahead and celebrate the fire and warmth and passion and joy and laughter and optimism that Leo season brings. I feel like coffee brings those things too into our lives, so but whatever your beverage of choice is, sometimes, I really like tea too. Good morning, friends. Good morning. It's good to see y'all. So, what are we going to talk about today? So I've been teaching my Embodied Tarot course, which has been so fun and so great, and I'm learning stuff because every time someone asks me a question, it's oh, I didn't think about that. Let's look at this. So that's been really fun. And one of the things we had a big conversation about the other week in our course was reversed cards and how we all have different approaches. And I've met people that when they read, they really like to read the reversed cards. I was not one of those people. It intimidated me. When I started reading tarot, I would just always turn my cards upright and just trust that I was still gonna get the information I needed. I used to guide other people to that as well. If you're learning tarot and it's feeling like a lot, you don't have to ever read a card reverse. You can choose even before you pull the cards to just say, you know what, I'm going to read them upright. I'm going to get the information I need, because even when they are upright, there's so many layers of meaning. Every card has this full spectrum. It's not just good cards and bad cards. I never like reading the reverse cards. See, I was like you, Anna. I didn't like reading the reversed cards. And I still, a lot of times, especially when I'm reading for other people that don't know tarot as well, I turn them upright because I want them to really see the card. And sometimes it's harder to see the card when it's reversed. My approach to reading reverse cards basically comes down to this. Just go with what you feel. And it's okay, if you feel like you pull the card and it's reversed and you want to turn it upright, you can do that. You can choose before you even pull the cards that you just won't read them reversed, and that's what I used to do. Then I got more and more comfortable with tarot, and I actually found a better resource, because when I first started, I just had this little booklet that came with the tarot deck. Now, tarot decks nowadays, some of them come with really nice books. I got this new deck that my friend Juliana told me about. Hi, Jules. And it's amazing. I love this deck, the Numinous Tarot. And it comes with this nice big book that tells you both the upright meaning, and it has a lengthy section on the reversed meaning. But I had one of those little flimsy paper things that comes in the deck of cards that just would have keywords listed, 3 keywords listed. So it would say upright, it means bravery and courage and risk-taking. And then reversed was it was always just so bad and ugh. And it was lacks courage, fear of failure, what was it? There was this one phrase that I used to get a lot. There was this card I would get reversed all the time, and it was a poor outcome, despair. And I was well, great, I don't, that doesn't, but then I would engage with the card, and it wasn't all just doom and despair and you're doomed to failure. So me and reverse cards did not have the best relationship. So for a really long time, I just didn't read reverse. And if you don't want to read reverse, guess what? You don't have to read reverse cards. You can still do really great readings for people and have your cards upright, and you can turn them upright all you want. And if that's the case, I'm going to show you a difference between 2 different decks. This is my Housewives deck. The back of it, you can't tell which way is upright, right? Here's the 8 of Pentacles, but the back, it could be like this, and I could turn it over, right? And it doesn't it doesn't matter. I'm not going to know which way the card goes. However, in this deck, my Serpent Fire deck, you can tell, I've learned that means the card is upright. This is like an Egyptian symbol, like connected to Hathor and Isis and stuff. So I can tell when I lay the cards face down, I can tell when I'm holding the deck, not looking at the images, which way is upright. So I know that if the card is like this, it's going to be reversed. So if you are someone that doesn't want to read reversed cards, but you like don't even want to see them, I would recommend getting a deck that has a back on it. I mean, obviously get a deck. The most important thing is that you resonate with the images. I'm going to say that till the day I die. You gotta like the images on your cards. But like this deck, this is upright. This would be reversed. But I can tell that because they look different, okay? My Raven's Prophecy deck. I know a lot of y'all always want to know what decks I'm using. So if you don't like to read reversed, or maybe you do, but you just like to like have a little heads up, there are decks that have a back that will let you know if it's upright or not, even before you turn the card over. So decks like these are great for people like that. This deck is a little trickier, but there is, if you really look closely at the line design, you can tell that that's upright and that's reversed, okay? There's a difference. It's not as easy to tell. So for someone who's kind of in between, like me, it's nice to have, like, if I really want to know, I can look closely. Whereas with this one, I just can't not see. This is bold. I know instantly if it's upright or reversed. And if I kind of want to be surprised, and I maybe want to read reversed, then a deck like the Osho Zen deck, that you can tell if you really love, but you can't fully tell, is going to be a better option. Other decks can have images on the back, but you still don't know. And a lot of artists do that intentionally, so that if you get a reversed card, you read it reversed. I have one more. Oh, my Numinous Tarot. Also, you can't tell. You can't tell which way's reversed and which way's upright. Okay, so I can have the back and flip. Now, we're going to talk about a lot of things, and I hope I don't get too out of topic, but if you have questions while I'm talking, feel free to post them in the comments about reverse cards, but I'm going to try and cover some different things. The first one being, well, you have the permission to not read reversed, and if I'm not going to read reversed, it used to be something that I just said in the beginning. I liked knowing that I was putting that intention out there, that I'm not going to read reversed. So if a card shows up reversed, I'm going to turn it over. Or if I had a deck where I could tell, I would just make sure as I was laying the cards down that they were all upright. If you are someone that is open to reading reversed, likewise, you can set that intention before you pull. It does help. You don't have to be clear before you pull. You can still be wishy-washy, but especially if you're newer to tarot and you don't quite have the fluency and fluidity and trust built up in your reading skills yet, I would recommend that you just decide in advance. And guess what? You can always change your mind later, but it can help to set an intention in advance so that you're not going into the reading with more uncertainty. Because you already have a question. You're already wanting to see what the cards say, what energies they're speaking to. Go in with as much certainty as possible. That's why we take time to form a really clear question. It also helps to decide in advance, I'm open to reading reversed, I'm not going to read reversed. And then you can move into it with at least that question taken care of for yourself. If you choose to read reversed, you set that intention, like if the card is reversed, I'm going to read it reversed. However, what does that mean? Now, if you're using a deck like this one that has meaning, it literally, wrong page, like this, and it's gonna tell you a lot about what the card means reversed, I would go with the deck you're using, at least to start. So if I was using the Numinous Tarot and I chose to read reversed, that to me would mean that I'm literally reading the reversed meaning in the guidebook. Y'all know me, I'm all about embodied tarot, so I'm never just going to go with what the book says though. So what I would do is I would actually look at the card reversed first. I would put myself in that card. I would be that woman, okay? I would be her. I would turn the card, usually if I'm reading reversed, if I choose to read reversed, I look at the card upright too to get a sense of what that means, okay? So I look at that, I get a sense of how that feels. She's in a library, she's looking off to the side, she's got her hand on some books, it's a 9. I know 9s mean like you're nearing completion, you're not all the way there yet, but she looks very comfortable. There's a lot of fruit and greenery, there's flowers, maybe that's fruit, I don't know. You know, it's like an abundant, warm, rich, kind of sumptuous feeling to this card. This book does tomes. Tomes is pentacles, in case anyone's wondering. 9 of tomes, 9 of pentacles, discs, coins. When it's upside down, it's a little topsy-turvy, right? It's like she's upside down. I would literally put myself upside down. Literally. Like, I've done it before. I did it in my class the other night. Put yourself upside down. If you're pulling a reverse card, you go upside down and you be like the upside down person. That's why we're going into the upside down. Good morning, Jen. Good morning, Kelby. Good morning, Monique. Hi, y'all. So, when I get reverse cards, I actually try to embody it. I try to feel myself upside down and look at what that might mean. In a different deck, this card, like, look, she's like free falling, but when it's upside down, whew, that's a different energy. That feels different to me. The Fool in this deck, upside down, it changes things. It's like, okay, now the energy's like coming down and then up, you know? So be with that. But if I'm using a deck like this deck, the Numinous Tarot, and there is a book with it and it lists a significant reverse meaning, I know that the creator of that deck really took that into account and put that energy into the cards that they created, okay? So I would look at the reverse meaning. It's a separate meaning. Sometimes it takes the energy of the card and the upright meaning and flips it completely so that it has an opposite meaning. And sometimes it's just a different interpretation. The energy might be restricted in some way. If I'm using a deck that does not list reversed meanings, like the Housewives Tarot comes with a little guidebook, okay? But when you look at the guidebook, it's only upright meanings. There's usually a sentence at the end of the description that will speak to a potential reversed meaning. But it's not specifically intended to be read reversed, even though you totally can. Like, you can read this card reversed. All of tarot can be read reversed or upright. So for me, what I've learned over time, and it's because I chose to only read upright, but sometimes I would feel like, this card is wanting to be flipped. Sometimes I would lay them out and the card itself would start to turn. Has that ever happened to you? You lay your cards down and you have like one I call a spinny one, and it's moving, or you're flipping them over and you're being careful, but one of them like ends up like wonky or crooked, or like it's trying to flip. I go with that because we're reading energy here. So when the energy is really making the card move a certain way, that's when, even though I was like, I'm gonna read them upright, I'm only gonna read upright cards, sometimes no matter how much I set that intention, it became clear to me that this card, that energy is not as upright as I would hope or I would want it to be. Good morning, Denise. Good morning, Bailey. Good to see y'all. You know, I see you. I feel you. Now I have that Titanic song in my head. Okay, we're getting off topic. Back to reverse cards. So, if the energy is telling you, you'll feel it. Trust what you feel when you're reading the cards, even if you've set the intention to read upright. If I've set the intention to read reverse, even more so, I'm going to pay attention when a card like kind of spins. But I don't always have to just read the reverse meaning. And a lot of decks don't come with a very thorough reverse meaning. You can always do your research. You can get tarot handbooks. You can study this stuff. But what I encourage you to do is just feel into the card. If you feel that energy moving, sometimes for me, I read reverse cards not as the opposite of that energy, but as the energy is in transition. It's starting. It maybe was a little blocked at first. I wasn't trusting, but I'm starting to get some momentum. I'm starting to trust more. I'm entering a situation where at first I maybe didn't trust, but it's starting to flip. Literally, the energy is shifting. It's flipping. Conversely, sometimes I feel like the card was upright, but it does start to flip upside down. And that means if I had pulled this and I felt more of a flip from upright to upside down, I would read that differently. I would read that, oh man, y'all, pause. The garbage truck just went by and I realized I forgot to put the trash out. Oh well. Okay, so trusting. Trusting, if it starts to flip like this, that would say to me I'm entering a situation where I'm not trusting as much. Similar to this Fool card. I'm feeling like, yes, I'm ready to take a leap, but if I feel like the energy went from upright to reversed, then I'm not feeling as confident in taking that leap. I want to feel more grounded. Something around me shifted, something happened, or something within me shifted to where I'm not feeling as confident as I was before. I don't feel as comfortable to take the risk. And it could even be like a warning. Like, hey, I know you want to leap, but you might need to look first. Like in this situation, it might not be the best idea. We have a question. Would you do that even with a deck where the author says not to read them reverse, like The Wild Unknown? Absolutely. I always take into account what the creator of the deck intends because I feel like they did put that energy into the card. However, once the cards are in your hands, they are your cards, and the cards really just speak to energies. And so if you feel, again, if you're paying attention to the energy, we're not just reading cards here, people. I really want y'all to think about it as we're reading energy, and the card is just a tangible indicator of energies that are active and changing and moving and at work in our lives. So the cards are not going to be static. So if you feel, if you're being present, and that's why, like, yes, I'm saying go into it with an intention, especially as you're starting out. I'm going to read upright, I'm going to read reversed. But even when you go in with that intention, I encourage you to really be open to what happens when you're reading. Sometimes the cards will jump off the table. That means something. If they land upside down, that means something. It's energy. It is not a static experience. So please be open to reading the cards however you feel you need to read them. Alrighty? That is the most important thing. Even no matter what the deck says. If it says don't read this reverse, well, it's your deck now. They shouldn't put it out in the world if they don't want people doing what they want to do with it. My kiddo just came and his head is in my lap right now. He's feeling a little reversed today. So we're just going to have some extra cuddles. So that's probably the biggest takeaway of reverse cards. I did want to talk about some of the ways I do interpret the cards, other experience I have. Sometimes it's like that energy is flipping, either to a more free-flowing energy if it's moving upright, or to the energy is getting wonked a little. Another way, and one of the Serpent Fire deck I have, it describes it, there's the shadow, right? It's the shadow of the card. So sometimes I'll interpret, I do this even if my card is upright, I will always take the shadow aspect of the card into account. But with the Serpent Fire deck, it actually has a shadow meaning, which doesn't have to be reversed, but it can be. And I'm actually going to read you what it says about the Fool card, which is that one I was showing you. The shadow says you may be feeling your inhibitions and worries, doubting your ability to let go. You may be feeling reluctant to surrender something. If so, Take some time to collect yourself and find the courage deep within. It is there. So, you can take the shadow meaning into account. You can also see reversed cards. Like here's the Ace of Coins. Something new is growing. There's the potential of new life, of this spark, of something new being created and coming into being. When it's reversed, Ace of Coins or Ace of Pentacles, it could be that is blocked. This life that's wanting to spark, something is blocking it. You're not seeing all of the potential that's there, or you don't have the resources you need to actually nurture that life that's wanting to be sparked, or you're just full. You're just not open to something new coming into your life right now, which is not always a bad thing. And that's the one other thing I really want y'all to understand, is it's not that upright is good and reversed is bad. So sometimes people reach out to me and they're like, Leah, I pulled cards, but they're all reversed. Like, oh no, my life, like, what does this mean? It's bad. Like, everything's falling apart. And I'm like, no, it doesn't mean that at all. It can mean that some things are blocked or the energy is flipped. It can also mean it's kind of like when planets are retrograde, okay? Little pet peeve of mine, it's not in retrograde. It's not what we say. It's not the actual term. But that's an astrology tangent, and this is not an astrology channel. This is a tarot time. So, planets are retrograde. We have lots of retrograding planets right now. It's kind of like that with the cards. It's like the energy is asking you to focus more within. Sometimes I interpret reversed cards as this is not an outward directed energy. And that tends to happen if I'm really trying to look at a situation with another person, or I'm trying to be like, everything out here is crazy. Cards, tell me what's up. And if they show up all reversed, that is my deck saying to me, the issue is not out here, and you really want to look out here and make it be about out here, but you need to take a deeper look in the mirror. So, and that's what retrograde planets kind of ask us to do too. It's like, yes, there's a lot going on out here, and a lot of people have their own shit going on. Don't put your focus there. When a lot of planets are retrograde, guess what? A lot of people have reached out, they're like, I can't book appointments with you. I'm like, yeah, I blocked my fucking schedule off for a week because it's like eclipse and retrograde time. And it's not that I can't show up for other people, because I do, but I'm doing it very, very selectively right now, because I know when all this shit is happening cosmically, I need to be focused on me right now. Can I show up for other people and help them get clarity? Sure. And I love to do that. But if I don't set aside time for me, more so than I normally do, to be focused on me during these times, that's not serving anyone. So I take clients selectively during these times, but a lot of my time is reserved for my own self-reflection, because everything clients are bringing to me, guess what, is something I need to reflect on for myself. Things that are happening when I go to the grocery store, things that are happening when I'm having my dreams at night, it's all for me to reflect on me. That isn't always the case. Some people will say that it is. In the whole spiritual world, it's like, but everything's a reflection of you and we're all one. Yeah, that's true in this very, very big picture, but we're humans living in the world, and sometimes people are shitty and they do shitty things and it sucks, and it's not necessarily like a reflection of something in you that's like wrong or needs to be fixed. Okay? So, however, there are times where we really need to reflect on ourselves. So if you're pulling a lot of reversed cards, that's how I would interpret it. Not that everything in your life is upside down, although sometimes that's the case. Although usually if everything in your life is really upside down, you're gonna also get a card like the Tower or Death. Wheel of Fortune maybe. So there's bigger cards. If everything in your life, that's where we look at the difference between majors and minors. If things in your life are really, really topsy-turvy, you're going to be getting a lot of major cards that are going to speak to that. And that's why I gave myself permission and felt really comfortable to not read reversed cards for a long time. Because I knew that there were other cards. If I really needed a message of like, hold up, press pause, like things are real crazy right now, there's a lot of change, or you really need to go within, I would pull the Hermit, the Hanged Man, you know. I didn't need the reverse cards to tell me to pause and reflect, because there's other cards in the deck. There's 78 cards in the deck. I would just trust that I would get the cards I need. So again, you can choose to do whatever feels best for you, whatever feels like you're gonna have the easiest time reading the cards, but also just be open to that changing, because again, we're reading living energies, and the cards speak to us not only through the card itself and what's on it and what that means, but in how the reading happens, in how the cards move, in what you feel. Like, even if I'm pulling them all upright, sometimes it comes up upright and I can feel. And again, usually the card will move a little. Even when I lay it down, it'll kind of, like, I'll lay it down and it'll kind of go like that. And none of the other cards do that. It's not like I'm just reading on a really slippery surface. It's energy, y'all. You gotta trust that we're working with energy, and weird stuff's gonna happen. That's where your readings really deepen, when you are very tuned in and trusting of those extra things that happen, and you actually use that as information just as much as whatever the book says the card means, okay? So, reversed cards. It can mean the energy is blocked. It can mean it's shifting. It can mean the shadow side of the card. It can mean its own separate meaning if the guidebook with your deck says that. It can mean that it's time to reflect deeper within and not look at something outside of yourself for how that energy is playing out. Something's asking, this is about, even when it's sometimes it's hard with cards like the Pentacles, and we think it's about our resources and tangible things. But the Pentacles can also speak to things within us, the ways we block our own ability to receive sustenance and support. So just feeling into how does it feel like I should read this card today? And how do I want to read it? As much as you shouldn't just only read cards for the information you want, but at a certain point too, you should trust yourself. This is your personal practice, and you need to trust yourself. Same when I'm reading for someone else. Sometimes I will speak to it being reversed, but a lot of times I don't need to, because again, they will get other cards, and I like people to really connect with the cards. And when someone's new to tarot, sometimes the reverse cards can trigger too much anxiety, that they're missing the really rich messages that are available to them, because they're just oh no, reversed is bad and it's bad, and what does it mean? So many people will say that to me. What does it mean that it was upside down? So I've learned, especially when I go read at events, I take a deck that I know I'm gonna know just from the back of the deck, so that when I lay the cards down, I can lay them all upright, because I had too many times I'm trying to do 60 readings, in a short period of time. I have a line of people waiting, and then they're wait, what does it mean that it's upside down? And I'm don't worry about it, here's what it means. But they already have it in their head that this is bad, oh no, something bad is happening. That is not what reversed means. It does not mean something bad is happening, okay? That's the number one thing to take away. It doesn't mean bad. Reversed doesn't mean bad, and you don't have to read reversed if you don't want to. Everything else is just play with it. Trust yourself. Alrighty? So, that's my little take on upside down, reverse cards. There's a lot more I could say about it. There's a lot more I have said at other times, but it's an ongoing conversation. So please reach out with your questions. If there's a tarot topic you'd like me to dive into, let me know, because I want to cover I want to really speak to the things you're encountering with your own practice and the things that you're wondering about. It's really fun for me to open that dialogue and for us to look at things. I'm not saying I have all the answers. I don't have answers. I'm just sharing my practice with you. And I love to hear how you practice, and tell me what reverse cards mean to you, or the things you've experienced as you've explored that and reading reverse cards. I would love to hear your feedback. Once again, I have a YouTube channel now, so I do all of these on Facebook Live, but then I upload them to my YouTube channel. So just find me on YouTube, Leah Tyaxon, and subscribe. I think I have 1 subscriber. And if YouTube's not your thing, don't worry about it, because I'll still be here. But I look forward to the next time we chat, and please let me know your questions, okay? And happy reading! Mwah! Bye, y'all!